you for May 13th, 2024. Let's start with roll call.
Thank you. I'll start with roll call. Chair Anderson,
Here.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Here.
Board Member Noon,
Here.
Board Member Sofrin.
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. We will now open public comment for any item that is not on today's agenda.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I have no slips for general comment. If anyone wishes to make one, they may fill one out and bring it to me. I see no one in the audience moving to do so, so we will move on to virtual comment. And at this time, I see no hands raised on virtual comment, and we did not receive any written correspondence for general public comment. So at that, I will turn it back over to you, Chair Anderson.
All right, we will close general public comment and move on to the approval of the minutes from our meeting on April 29th.
Motion to approve?
I'll second that. Anything under discussion?
I have a couple of items under the ADU discussion. There was a phrase used that I didn't understand or recall called ZOOMY, Z-O-O-M-Y, metal materials. Can anybody clarify what that was or is supposed to be?
I don't remember that. Do you guys remember that?
It looks like it was made by Board Member 6.
Yes.
Under the question if there's any exterior finishes or materials that you would prefer. That was how it was stated, so I'm not sure. Richard 6 isn't here to clarify.
It may remain unclarified for the ages then, since member 6 is not here. I had a second one on item number 2, 350 Hitchcock. A very small correction. The minutes say there, this is under my explanation for my no vote. It should read neighborhood nor reflect. That makes a little more sense. And then it isn't entirely appropriate, but question for staff, will that ADU item come back to our committee?
So it will come to you all on July 8th when we are reviewing the submitted plans. You will not have another chance for a presentation, question, answer format, but if you have additional questions, you can reach out to Ted Hamilton Roll, the project planner.
All right, they were more comments than questions. That's all I have. Ready
Okay.
for a vote?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay, Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes.
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member 6, Board Member Sovereign.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, let's move on to the minutes on the consent calendar for today.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. Item A, 1015 Cacique Street. It received project design approval and final approval with the comments that 1, include a cut sheet of the exterior light fixture to the plan set, 2, the compatibility analysis criteria generally have been met, and 3, the minor zoning exception criteria have also been met. In item B, 1212 Coast Village Road, it received review after final approval with the comment that the plans are in substantial conformance with the plans that received final approval on July 10th, 2023.
Okay, move we approve the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just had a small question on that 1212 Coast Village Road. Since there was no staff report and I was limited to just looking at the drawings, was it purely material changes that were? proposed?
No, there was a facade change at the front. The arch is now flat. They removed some of the, I guess, I don't know what they're called, little pieces of structure was removed, and then
Zoomy things.
zoomy things were removed. And then the part of the program changed, so the back of house is now plaster instead of all tile
So
in
that,
in the parking lot.
thank you
Yeah.
for that summation.
Okay, let's take a vote.
Okay. Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes?
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Sovereign,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, do we have any announcements, requests by applicants for continuances and withdrawals or future agenda items and appeals?
Yes, one announcement that item 3, 419 West Pueblo Street has been continued to a date certain of May 28th.
Shucks.
Okay, thank you. Any subcommittee reports? No? Okay. Okay, let's move on to item number 1, the Highway 101 HOV improvements. This is for final approval. They were last here on April 15th. So final approval is requested for segment 4E South only. What? Oh, from approximately Olive Mill Road to Hermosillo Road. Segment 4E North will be reviewed and approved at a later date. Okay. So plans must be in substantial conformance with the plans that received project design approval on April 15th. Welcome back. So last time, did we also review just south? Or did we get south and north project design approval?
So we had both
Last time.
both segments of the project presented, and then now we're seeking
Okay,
what is it?
Just the
Final
south.
approval on the south. We have
Got it.
funding that's going to start in August of this year,
Okay.
and so we went through the comments that the committee provided. By the way, Fred Luna with SBK, and Christine Anderson, Mark Thomas, Zach Zaviglia with
Welcome
Mark
back.
Thomas. Yes, thank you. Welcome back. Yeah, we looked through the comments that were provided, and thank you for that. And then we isolated, essentially there were two elements or two components that applied just to the segment that we're talking today. We're seeking final approval. And so that should make it simple. And then we plan on being back in the fall, hopefully, for the other components. And you can go to the next slide, I think, Christine.
Yeah, so thank you for having us back. So these were the comments that we received on the 415 meeting. I'm highlighting the two, sound wall and median barrier, because those are the two that were impacted in the 4E South segment that we're talking about today, that we're seeking final approval for. So just to reiterate the comments that we received, the board supports the applicant's preference for the sound wall treatment as presented, and the median barrier, the median barrier is to be 36-inch high using the form liner option with no shadow line. So just to remind everyone where the sound wall is that this stretch basically from Butterfly Lane down to the southbound Spring Road off-ramp, where there is sound wall on barrier, sound wall on retaining wall in that particular location. And there's also sound wall at the top of the slope in that stretch between Spring Road and Olive Mill Road.
And Christine, just on this image, this shows the limits of the 4E South project. So it goes from Olive Mill to the Hermosillo off-ramp. The 4E North segment is everything north of the Hermosillo off-ramp, the Cabrillo interchange, all the way up to the northern limit of the project. So that's going to be the portion that we come back for in the fall.
So just to reiterate, the sound wall treatment that was selected was to use this style with the split-faced shoreline block in that field color. So you can see all that area, most of the wall would be made with that split face block. And then the pilasters would be in line with the face of the wall. The pilasters would be the Harvest Precision color, which is a slightly lighter color, and projecting above the sound wall by one course, so basically 8 inches, with an 8-inch split face cap on the top. And then there'd be this horizontal running cap that basically looks like two precision blocks sandwiched, or I should say, a single split face block sandwiched between two precision blocks that would give that cap look to it. And that would all be above the integrally colored barrier. And then for the highway median barrier, this would be in the same color that we've used throughout the other segments, but we would use that top texture to match the Mission Creek retaining wall. I did select, based on the comments that we received about some of the other walls, that we would do two different heights of block to kind of address that comment, to have that look, to have the lower stones be slightly larger than the top stones, but I removed the shadow line that you saw on the previous design. But we would use the same custom form liner. It would just be a shorter item. And in this stretch too, you also approved a 36-inch tall barrier rather than the other one with the cap that we had. So with that, I will let you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. We will now open public comment for item 1.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I have no slips for this particular item. However, if anyone wishes to make a comment, please fill out a slip and bring it to me. I see no one in the audience preparing to do so, so we will move on to virtual comment. And at that, I see no hands raised for virtual comment, and we did not receive any written correspondence for this item, so at that, I will turn it back over to you, Chair Anderson.
Okay, we'll close public comment and open it to questions from the board. Vice Chair Whalen, do you have any questions?
Sure, thank you, Chair Anderson. First, one that's totally off page. In the previous segment, is the Los Patos Way exit ramp changing at all?
Yeah, for segment 4E north, the segment that's north of here,
Yes.
ultimately, when the Cabrillo interchange is reconstructed, the Los Patos off-ramp gets eliminated.
Goes away?
Yeah.
I thought I saw that on there, but I couldn't
Yeah.
remember from your previous discussion, so thank you for that clarification. And then similarly on this segment, does the Olive Mill exit, Spring Road exit lane, is that exit lane changed in length at all?
Yes, it does. So I think there was a comment when we were here last about the geometry of the ramp, and the ramp does change. It gets lengthened to provide standard geometry now as you get off on Spring Road off-ramp. And then sight distance is improved, so all of the new requirements that are part of the Caltrans current standards are part of the new design for that off-ramp.
There was some public comment about the dangers presented on Spring Road, so I was wondering, I did not see an indication of a stop sign at the ramp at Spring Road, and I was wondering if that could be considered, and, well, I'm getting into comments, aren't I? Okay, I'll save that then. Let's see, are there any changes to the pedestrian underpass that go from Coast Village Circle, Butterfly, or is that pedestrian remain intact?
It remains, designs were coordinated with that project, so all of our designs for the project incorporate what was done at Butterfly Lane, the undercrossing.
And then just as you have showed us on the previous slide, in the set that we were given on C11 and C26, there was a simulated block texture. That's really going to be what you just showed us today, not what was in our set that was distributed to us.
That's correct. So that what you got distributed was some a quick rendering
Of some tile-like looking.
Yes,
Okay.
and yes, exactly.
And then relating back to that exit ramp, there's extensive tree and shrub removals around that Olive Mill Road ramp. So those really aren't being replaced. It's because of the sound wall that's going in that requires the removal of all those planting materials, and they're not going to be replaced.
So I'll touch on the first part. I'll let Christine talk about the replanting. But there's a few things that are causing for the tree removal. One is the geometry of the ramp that we touched on. We tried to minimize that. That was one of the goals that we had when we started looking at the design, was how can we improve to current standards to the amount feasible with minimizing the impacts to those trees along the southbound side. But it's the geometry for the main line, the geometry for the ramp, and the sound wall. In terms of the replanting, I'll let Christine talk on that.
That's right. And so that's the plan, is the trees that would be removed are being replaced in these areas. There are some areas behind the sound wall and other areas that are being utilized for that.
Is there some ratio, a standard like for oaks versus non-natives?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yes.
That's fine. And then finally, to really get into the weeds on this, where are the camera locations?
Okay, so on the plans, what's the term for it? MVDS is the term that's used on the plan sheets. I'll have to look at the plans and tell you exactly what station they are.
I'll
But
have
there's
to
northbound
look.
and southbound.
And a total number in this
I
segment?
think there's just one.
Just one.
Yeah.
Okay, those are all my questions. Thank you, Chair Anderson.
All right, thank you. Board Member Noon.
No questions, thanks.
Board Member Salford.
It's just like a staff question, like sort of in regard to like a question earlier that Commissioner Whalen was asking, sort of about like the stop sign location or placement. Is that beyond our purview?
That would be, however, it was related to a public comment, so I understand his asking of the question, but if it's not design related, then that would be outside.
And if you're just curious, we do have a response. We've been working with the person that made the public comment, so we can address the status of where we're at on that.
That's all I have.
Well, does it affect the design, your discussion with the?
No, it doesn't. We're just looking at perhaps adding some additional pavement markings, maybe some signs. We cannot do the stop sign at the end of the ramp.
Okay, great, thank you. Oh, yes.
Hello, Megan Arciniega, senior planner. Filling in for Kathleen Kennedy, who couldn't be here today. Just to answer your question, so my understanding is the stop sign location is in the unincorporated area of the county, so it's outside the city's jurisdiction. That's why we're not looking at it today.
Okay. All right, thank you. And then do you have a detailed section of the sound wall and of the median barrier in your set? And specifically on the barrier, just the dimensions of what we're showing for that split face. Yeah. I feel like you passed it, maybe. Oh, okay. I guess the question then is, oh, that's showing 42. It's the top foot, right? The top 12 inches on the barrier that have the.
That's correct. The
Okay.
bottom 2 feet is smooth, and this is an older version of the
Yeah.
plans. We resubmitted last week. It just may not have made it into the set. That changed the way that it looks on this barrier. So the bottom 2 feet are smooth, and then the top foot is that section that Christine showed during the presentation.
And then the proportions between the two, because you were saying the bottom row is going to be taller than the top row.
That's right. I selected a 60% and 40%.
Okay.
Of that last 12 inches.
Sounds good. All right, any other questions? Okay, so let's go into comments. Board member.
Pardon the interruption, Chair Anderson. I did find the more recently dated plan set in Acela, and I can share those from my screen if you would like to see any of those details.
Does anyone need to see those? Do you need, no, okay, we're good. Thanks. Vice Chair Whalen, comments?
Sure. If anyone from the county is listening out there, please consider adding a stop sign because that exit ramp is actually 100 feet longer than the Hermosillo ramp. So I can see some justification for it. But for your more immediate consideration is the addition of rumble strips, something that would warn people that they really need to slow down on that ramp. That's totally up to you. And then moving on, the Gore area rock blanket, I would like to make certain that the type of sandstone used is consistent with the entire 101 project to the point that an adequate supply be identified in the bidding process so we have that same rock used throughout. Thank you.
Okay, Board Member Noon. Comments?
No, I don't have any.
Okay. Board Member Sovereign?
No comments.
Okay. I don't have any follow-up comments either. I'd say, in my opinion, I feel like the south only is ready for final approval. How does the board feel about that?
I would second that motion.
Okay. All right, then I'll create a motion for final approval of segment 4E South only. And that the plans are in substantial conformance with the plans we saw for project design approval. And, yep, that's it.
I'll second the second.
Okay. We'll take a vote. Chair Anderson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen?
Yes?
Board Member Noon?
Yes?
Board Member Sovereign?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. We'll
right,
see you
thank you.
soon. There is a 10-day appeal period. Thanks.
We'll see you for the northbound.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, we are going to have to wait for 10 minutes for item 2. going to re-adjourn our meeting here and go to item 2, 617 Bradbury Avenue. This is a new item for concept review. It's a proposal to remodel the existing 407 square foot residence, construct a new 1,844 square foot residence with a basement and attached single car garage, and 359 square foot detached accessory dwelling unit with new landscaping. No final appealable decision will be made at this hearing. Project will require compliance with the project compatibility findings and the urban design guidelines. This project site is in the proposed Lower De La Vina Historic District. New construction must be compatible with the surrounding historic resources. Welcome. Please introduce yourselves and your project.
I'm Jeff Shelton, architect.
Maddie Shelton with Jeff Shelton Architect.
Okay, thanks for seeing this project. The owner, Carlos Sarmiento, is also here with us in the audience. If you have any other questions for him. This is a site, as you know, Bradbury, nice little street with Chapala looming in on it. Carlo bought this lot and it had an approved lot line to lot line, commercial, 2 commercial units, 2 condos, 3 stories thing on it, and he decided he didn't want to do it. He wanted to build a compound for his family, and appreciate that. And so that's why I wanted the job, or that's why I took the job. And so that's what we're trying to do, fit back into this neighborhood and with the new needs. So as you can see, at the drawing on the screen, in the upper left is the existing small little house. We actually did get a permit to fix it up already, and then it expired because he wanted to change. So that's basically, the construction documents are done for that one on the left. So we wanted to greet the street with that front new house. Carlo's going to live here with and other family members. Greet the street as the other older houses have done on that street and in that whole neighborhood. And you know, I said, Carlo, we're going to have a porch, whether you want one or not. And so that's what we're having, a porch. We've, as you can see, we've set the garage back 20 feet, but we added this arch, which we'll get into, to sort of, well, get 2 stories above it for one thing, but sort of be a fun little feature for the house. And we may need to open that up a bit for transportation. They say we can park there, so we'll get into that. Very simple house, very clean roof line that you'll see different types of those roof lines in this neighborhood. Little 300-something square foot ADU back here, and then the small little house. So let's go to the next. We can keep going. Let's go to the neighborhood. Neighborhood is hanging on. It's got that Frazee, or I guess it's Sherwin-Williams in front, is the big monster in the neighborhood, but maybe there's more of those coming. But anyway, we're trying to play in the neighborhood the way it used to be. We used to do things in this neighborhood. You can see his lot right there. In the middle there, Maddie's circling, and that little house in the back, not much of one. And then the neighbors on both sides of our lot. You can see just, you know, houses with some old details on them. Next. And more lots, more houses in the neighborhood. 1, 2-story buildings with eaves, you know. I guess that's the common denominator, eaves and some porches. Next. So there's, we'll go through just the floor plans, very simple living areas on the first floor. The whole house is raised up 30 inches here, and so we can have a raised porch. And then 3 bedrooms upstairs. You can see that simple roof line. We do have a basement Carlo wanted underneath the living area. Next. The ADU is just a small little place, and that's it. Look, and you'll see architecturally, it's like a old garage back there. Next. And then this one is the one that we had a permit for, and once again, just a one-bedroom little place. Not a lot to it, just a fun little spot. Here's the black and whites. We'll go through these because the colors, I think, read better, but that's labeled wrong. We were noted on the east and west, but next, Maddie. And this is an idea for the front. As you can see on that west elevation, that's actually the east elevation. We need to label that differently. The garage is set back another 10 feet from that arch. And then there's a porch sitting there, and just quite simple stacked windows, good light. I mainly was looking for good light, tall ceilings in this house. On the back side with that yellow garage door, we're not going to have that back garage door there. It's going to be filled in per planning. But there's a little porch there, open porch to the backyard. And the other elevations are on the sides, 6 foot setback, so there's not a lot of room there. But that's what we'll see. You can see the whole house is raised. Next. And that green really came off bright on your screen, on that screen up there, by the way, so it wasn't quite that bright. This is the little shed in the back. This is the ADU, board and bat. Once again, not very simple. Just next. This is a fun little house. Carlos said he might actually live in this one, and the other part of the family live in the big house. Next. And this is the one that had a permit. Go, Maddie. And this had permitted for, when we were doing it, it was just going to be the only thing on the lot. It was galvanized sheet metal back there. There's other buildings back there, in the back of these lots that were sheet metal, so we're kind of playing off that. So once again, not a whole lot going on here. Those two sides here are very close to the property line. This bottom one with no windows is very close. So that's all we could do here. Here's cross sections of that house and the lot. Next. Okay. So this is unusual in that it's just not trying to overbuild the lot, but also trying to get more that maybe we did in 1970 or was allowed to do in 70. So the idea is so he can move here and have family stay in the town. So architecturally, I'm ready to discuss it with you.
Thank you. We will open public comment for item 2.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I have no slips for this particular item. However, if anyone wishes to make a comment, they can fill one out and bring it to me. I see no one moving to do so, so we will move on to virtual comment. I do not see any hands raised for virtual comment, and we did not receive any written correspondence for this particular item. So with that, I will turn it back over to you, Chair Anderson.
Thank you. And before we go into questions, does staff have anything to tell us about the potential Lower De La Vina Historic District?
Just that the structure itself that is currently existing is a non-contributing structure to the potential historic district. And basically when it's potential, it just means it hasn't been designated by City Council or HLC, which would take a majority vote of the homeowners in that district, their approval as well. So it's pretty difficult to have it actually nominated. But besides that, it just needs to be compatible with the adjacent historic resources, and your APR guidelines have some insight on techniques to do that. And also for the proposed ADU, I just wanted to clarify that that is within APR's purview because it does not qualify for the administrative design review criteria because it's 2 stories and taller than 18 feet.
Okay. Is it 2 stories? Your ADU?
Yeah, it has a loft.
Oh, it does. Okay. Got it.
But
Okay.
we can make it work. We can do something. If you don't like it, we can figure it out.
Okay.
Can you just say that, what was the problem with the ADU?
It's over 18 feet.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, well, let's go to questions from the board. Board Member Soffren, would you like to start?
Sure. Is there a plan for mechanical area, like you're going to be doing central air systems? Are we going to be doing tankless water heaters? Any sort of exterior impact?
Yes, we had it on, when we got our permit, on the side yard, in between the two, well, there wasn't two buildings to be in between at the time. But we haven't got that far, but we've been doing the air handlers, the heat pumps. If anything we could put in the basement, we're going to do that. But generally, these heat pumps need to be, where they need to be. We have not got that far.
And then air handlers, HVAC compressors, that kind of.
Well, that's the heat pump would be that
yes,
item we need to. We had these Mitsubishi with the sound reports on the first idea. We're going to have to figure that out if we all like which direction we're going. And then the handlers will be in the basement or somewhere.
And then regarding trash, any thoughts yet on what you would be doing, because you're going to have 3 residences?
Yeah, we've had some ideas on the sides of the buildings that you drag out you roll them out down this walkway, and then trash inside that garage for the main house.
Gotcha. Okay, it just doesn't look like there's sort of any area planned where you would store trash cans and stuff. So.
Well, the garage is 22/7 at the moment, but yeah, we have to figure that out definitely.
Is there did I miss it? I think a color board. I saw that the rendering had that color, but is there?
We don't have a color board yet, but this is a green. This is not nearly that bright. I mean, we always have a problem with these screens here, but it's a green, off-white, and some sort of, on this idea, blue trim. I was just trying to play with some fun color, but not too crazy. So that's where I'm sort of going, that it's alive sitting there, but not the crazy building on the street.
And I guess my last question is, have you guys put any thought into sort of your landscape plan?
No.
Okay.
Well, we want a little hedge or something at the street, so when they're sitting at the porch, they can kind of look over it. That's basically that, and a tree. We'll get with your comments. We'll go back and work on. It's usually screening and things like that, and so.
Okay, that's all I have for comments or questions.
Okay, Board Member Noon, questions?
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple of brief ones. Just now that we're on this elevation, just the connection with the idea with all the trim, the white trim that's kind of puzzled in there. Is there a compatibility in the area that you found that inspired that, or is this what's behind that?
First of all, I'd like to say something. When we started it, we weren't in the lower Dellavina thing, So
yeah.
I'm glad where my mind was going. I wanted to be in a district like that, so that's where we are. Is there one in this neighborhood just like this? No, but I've seen this technique done, and I can bring photos in. That it was just at first we had it just straight with standard, and we've had horizontal. It was the other one, but it seemed like an opportunity with. That we could have a little bit of fun with this. This could be hardy backer, painted, no wood grain,
right?
But just very clean. I played with this over on a building that got painted with paintings on it, but it was sort of a interesting technique to break up some spaces. So I can show some fun examples of that for you.
Okay. I think you mentioned it. I noticed there's not an access from the garage to the house without going outside. And but you had an intent to raise the house. I'm assuming that was intentional to not, lower it so there was maybe an easier access from the garage to inside, but that was part of just a design intent to raise it and get it out of the ground a little bit?
Yeah, I guess it's not, I took on the feel of the house more than the practicality. There'll be now an interior, you'll go outside and probably come into the kitchen door. Maddie, point that out. Because that back, there won't be a big door back there, so probably window for light, and then you come in that way. I wanted to get up there, get up in there for a couple of reasons. It's just nice sitting up off the street like the rest of the houses. And after these storms, that just flooded my office just across the street, really, water just came pouring down Chapal and just spread everywhere. Just feel a little better, everything up off somewhere. So that's how that happened. And whether they curse me later for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Vice Chair Whalen, questions?
Well, I think Mr. Shelton has already partially answered my questions. It's about that garage. It's really mysterious and quite wonderful at the same time. You explained that the portion to the east is a porch, and that previously there had been a door on both ends of the garage, but the building department had put the kibosh on that. Was the original intent to be able to access a vehicle through to the back? What was the intent?
It was more of a porte cochere type thing. You just drive in. And so then wait a second, we need a door on it, and pretty soon there are two doors on it. So there's no room to park. That's a lawn back, yard, not a lawn, we don't know what it is yet. There's a yard back there.
Right.
So it's more of just working on your car, you have your nice car there. I guess it wasn't thought out that much, but it was a porte cochere, sort of you sitting there on the side of the house. Also, can you point to the edges of the porch? Yeah, that was open right between the two, between the porch, that. I had that open, and I think we're going to open that again. I'm going to talk to transportation about what this problem is, but sort of maybe make that whole thing open so it's more airy all the way across there. And I have not talked to transportation yet about that. It was just a comment.
So the opening would it wouldn't be for pedestrian access because you have the two different
Right,
levels,
just before kind of a lightness
Yeah.
there. So, because it's 10 feet in there, and I know it's awkward. I mean, why would you do that? But it's more of making the house very clean shape and square, the roof line, and getting a little more room upstairs. And then we get to have fun with that arch.
Yeah. Thank you.
What material are you looking at for the base?
At the moment, it's concrete.
Concrete?
Poured concrete. Just because I have a problem with stone if it's not really good, but I could see running stone around it, real stone around it. I just don't want to use fake stone. So I'd rather do a nice concrete job. So that's certainly an option.
Okay. Cool. That was my only question. So any other follow-up questions?
I have one more question. Can you go to the section elevation? Just because I was just curious, like it looks like there's like a good-sized basement. And, but you were also mentioning that you were raising the house because of the flood issues that happen. So I was just kind of curious why you're putting a full-size basement when you have concerns about flooding.
First of all, I have not looked at the floodplain yet. I mean, we're not required to raise it like this. That was mine, get the house up off the area. And then Carlo wanted a basement after I did that. So I've added a basement, and now waterproofing is going to be our major issue.
Okay.
So, things just happen sometimes. I mean, you worked here a while, we don't do many basements here.
Okay. Cool. All right, let's move on to comments. Vice Chair Whalen, you want to start us off?
Sure. I'm really like your project, Mr. Shelton. I think it's well integrated into the fabric of the historic district. You've done your homework by looking at the adjacent structures and reading the historic report. It doesn't really mimic those existing buildings of craftsman and Victorian simplicity, but it does relate to them in modern ways. So the massing and scale relates to the neighborhood, and yet it has a modern presence that identifies it as non-historic. I really appreciate that. And it's sort of a mini farm, if you will. I look forward to the development of the landscape and the interstitial relationship of the buildings via the landscape. I would encourage you to consider sandstone or some sort of stone project, again, relating to the neighborhood. The cast concrete seems a bit foreign, and one of the identifying features of the historic report was the use of stone and bollards and walls and building materials. So I would encourage you to do that. I appreciate the height of the new ADU, even though it's a small little house. It has a wonderful verticality that relieves the narrowness of and smallness of the rooms. I gotta admit, it's a fabulous garage. I mean, I really want to live in that garage. And I would support your color palette and materials for each of the buildings. I think it's well thought out and appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Noon?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a wonderful little development. I think you've done a wonderful job of, the prominence of the front property, and then the scaling down of the two in the back. They're lovely little buildings. Obviously, my question, just the question of the design for the larger one in front. It's out there because in my question, but you're the designer, so it's nothing that I would push back on. I do like the idea of the concrete, but I can see Board Member Whalen's point. So I guess in general, just to wrap up, I think it's a lovely little project.
Board Member Soffren?
I really like the project as well. I think it's great. I like the diversity with the different structures. I think you've really packed a lot into this, and I think it's a really great approach. So looking forward to seeing the continued development. It's great.
Yeah, I agree. I think it fits in with the neighborhood well, fits in with exactly what Vice Chair Whalen said. It's a modern take on the mass, bulk, and scale of the neighborhood and detailing as well. I would actually support the concrete, and I think looking at the existing stone curbs it talked about in the neighborhood and maybe just what that looks like together and how your landscape develops. And yeah, looking forward to the future detailing of the project. So does this need a motion?
It needs a motion, but just to be continued indefinitely, and then you
Okay.
can list your comments.
Okay. Vice Chair Whalen, would you like to?
Well, with your assistance, Chair Anderson, I'll make a motion to continue the item indefinitely with the following comments that the board supports the concept design in size, bulk, scale. It matches, it's compatible with the neighborhood. We appreciate the modern take on the elevations and the colors to differentiate it from existing historic structures. We'd encourage you to continue to consider the concrete base as it's exposed, perhaps a different cladding or some other expression. What other notes do you have there? Oh, we look forward to seeing a fully developed landscape plan. And was there something else you?
Maybe an image of an example of the siding that you were proposing on the main structure.
And then materials and color board and a full delineation of the elevations, the siding expression.
Yes. I'll second that.
just for discussion,
Sure.
I guess I didn't want to speak for the board. If the board is okay with the design of the larger building in the front, I don't need,
You don't need an image?
I don't need an image to,
Okay, I think the motion.
I don't want to make that a, I'm sorry to interrupt, I don't want to make that a condition that's included.
I
if
don't
the
think
board
it
doesn't.
was. I think we ended up just asking for delineation on the siding and, yeah, his proposal for the
Okay,
main
very good.
building, so. Okay, let's take a vote.
Okay. Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes?
Board Member Noon,
Yes?
Board Member Sovereign.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank
See
you.
you back here. All right, let's, oh, do we need to open item 3 or we don't have to?
I'll send,
Okay.
I'll bring some photos.
Okay.
Yeah, just fun stuff I saw. All right, thanks, everybody.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
And then quick announcement for item 3 that, again, it's been postponed indefinitely to May 28th, which is the Tuesday after Memorial Day.
Oh, thank you, yes. Okay, we will now adjourn for today. Thank you.